Good morning. We are starting a new topic today. Hopefully you have finished your narrative and you submitted that. And today we are going to start with main idea and details. We are going to introduce that and put some things in our ELA notebook. If you do not have your ELA notebook home, just listen to the video and we will put the stuff in your notebook when you get to school. If you have the ability to print off pages at your house, there's going to be a link right here, ELA notebook pages, and you can push that link and then print those pages off and follow along with me as I do this video. If not, we can figure out, we can put it in your notebook when you get to school. Make sure that you remind me so that I don't forget to give you these pages when you get to school. First of all, we're going to start with the Brain Pop video. So push this link and it's a link to a YouTube video. So you're not going to be able to do like the quizzes and stuff, but you can at least watch the video. So start with that if you haven't already. Pause my video, go watch the Brain Pop video, and then come back to this. I haven't put this on here yet, but I might add a fun song video that I'm probably going to show the students in class. So I'll put that on there too, so you can watch those videos first. Okay. So hopefully you've watched the Brain Pop video, and then let's go over your notebook. So main idea and detail. Let's start with your table of contents. Right underneath hook, I would like you to write main idea details, and that is going to be on page 18 and 19. So go ahead and write that. Pause my video and complete that, and then start it up again. After you have done that, there are 2 pages that hopefully you printed off, and they are going to be on page 18 and 19, and you're going to glue them on here. We're going to go over these together and fill out some things together. So if you want to fill them out with me first before you glue them into your notebook, that's great. If you have to wait until you get to school to glue them into your notebook, that's fine also. Just keep following along. So when we're talking about main idea in detail, we are talking about what the text is all about. So this whole year, I have had you give evidence for everything. And I know you're getting a little tired of it, but I'm going to continue. So whenever you answer a question, you always give the evidence. Well, let's think about that when we're talking about main idea in detail. When you read a passage, your main idea is going to be your topic sentence, what the whole article or a passage or text, what that is all about, okay? The main thing. You can also call it a topic sentence. Your details then are going to be your evidence, okay? So you must have evidence to support your main idea or your topic sentence in the passage. So think of it that way. All right, so I think the best way to do this is just to jump in and practice. Okay, so when you find a main idea, the first step you need to do is find the topic of the selection. Okay, so who or what is this passage about? Now, the topic can be just like a 1-word or 2-word phrase kind of thing. Your main idea has to be a complete sentence. So to find the topic, look at the title, of the article, look at pictures. Sometimes they have pictures. Look to see like repeated words. Okay. So let's try that with this article that I have here for you. In the water cycle, water travels around the planet in a repeating set of steps. Water from the surface of the earth goes into the air. For example, when the ocean is heated by the sun, some of the water evaporates. In other words, it turns into water vapor, a gas. The water vapor then rises into the sky. When the water vapor starts to condense or change to liquid water, clouds form. Next, when the clouds are full of water, tiny drops form. The drops fall to earth as rain or snow. Over time, the water will evaporate again, continuing the cycle. So, if I were to ask you, who or what is this passage about? Okay, the topic, not anything specific, just what is the topic of this selection? What would you say? Well, I think this one, and at least I hope this one is kind of obvious. This whole passage here is talking about the water cycle. So we're just going to write water cycle because that is the topic, okay? Notice we're not saying anything specific about the water cycle. We're just giving a 1 or 2 word answer, okay? Next, ask yourself, what point is the writer trying to make? So when you were reading this, what was the main point that this writer was trying to make? And remember, whatever that point is, the details have to support it. They have to prove it, okay? So all of your details that you give have to support whatever main point you think the author is trying to make. Well, as I read it, I see that they say it travels around the planet in a repeating set of steps. And then it goes into giving me examples of it, right? So first, right, the water from the surface, it goes into the air. And then it gives an example of that. When the ocean is heated by the sun, some of the water evaporates. So it's talking about evaporation there. And then it says it gives more details there about turning into water vapor. And then it goes into what happens after it's water vapor. It then rises into the sky when water vapor starts to condense. So now we're talking about condensation. So when it starts to condense, it changes to the liquid form of water. And then when the clouds are full, tiny drops form, and those drops fall to the earth as rain or snow. So we're talking precipitation now. So what is the main thing? We have a lot of details, but what was the point that this author was trying to make? Well, if you see all of these, because then, the next thing it says is over time, the water will evaporate again, continuing the cycle. So it's going to continue that cycle. So what does a cycle mean? Well, a cycle is a repeating set. So the main point this author is trying to make is that this water travels around the planet in a repeating set of steps. And then the author, using our details, goes into all of those steps. So the main point the author is trying to make is that water travels around the planet in a repeating set of steps. That's the main point. So we have our topic, which is water cycle. We have our main point. For your main idea, all you need to do is put those together. And if we're going to put them together, they already did that in your very first sentence. So we can just write what they did. In the water cycle, Okay, you have to make sure that you include water cycle in your main idea because the topic has to be included in your main idea. In the water cycle, water travels around the planet in a repeating set steps. Notice that my main idea is written in the paragraph. I just have to find it. And I found it. Okay? So that is our main idea. Now, to make sure that that is correct, we need to make sure that we have details to support it, right? If the details don't support it, then it can't be our main idea. So what I want you to do now is take your highlighter and I want you to highlight the details that support your main idea, which remember the main idea is that in the water cycle, water travels around the planet in a repeating set of steps. Well, I know that you've talked about the water cycle in science, so this should be very familiar with you. Details that would support this is if they talked about the different steps in the water cycle, which they do. So let's do that. So I'm going to highlight this because this is our first step, right? Water from the surface of the earth goes into the air. Highlight it because that is definitely. Okay, now then they give an example. For example, when the ocean is heated by the sun, some of the water evaporates. You can put that. That is definitely a detail that would support it. Okay. I think you're going to find out that when we get through, we could actually put all of them. All of the sentences would support it. So I'm just going to go through the steps so that I don't have the entire paragraph highlighted. I want to say that it turns into water vapor, which is a gas, because that's important. That's one of the steps. If you chose to highlight this sentence, that is completely fine, because that is a detail that supports it. And then what happens? Well, that water vapor rises into the sky. Okay, the whole evaporation. What happens next? Well, it's going to condense. So I want to do this. When water vapor starts to condense or change to liquid form, clouds form. So we have to make sure we get all of our steps in the water cycle. And then when the clouds are full, well, they form the tiny drops. So I'm going to highlight that. And then finally, the drops fall to the earth as rain or snow. And that is also. Now, that last sentence, over time, the water will evaporate again, continuing the cycle. That also that also is a detail that supports, because it's talking about the cycle. So it's saying, okay, you just started over. So that also supports it. I'm not going to highlight it just because we already talked about evaporation up here. So I don't feel like I need to highlight evaporation again. But if you chose to, it does support your main idea. Now, the one thing I want to tell you, though, is that you cannot highlight this first sentence. In the water cycle, water travels around the planet in a repeating set of steps. The reason you cannot highlight that is because if you go down here, a fact cannot be both a supporting detail and main idea. What I mean by that is if the fact is the main idea, it cannot be a detail. So in other words, we already said that this is our main idea. In the water cycle, water travels around the planet in a repeating set of steps. That's the main idea. So it cannot be a detail. Okay, so if you highlighted that, you're going to have to put a little X there saying, oh, no, that's the main idea. That is not a detail. Okay, let's go over some of these strategies. This is to help you find the main idea. And actually, these first ones are just to help you figure out the topic. Okay, so the topic, if you're trying to figure out what the topic is of your passage or your selection or your article or whatever you're reading, look at the title. The title many times gives you the topic. Look at the pictures. Sometimes they have pictures. The pictures will show you what the topic is. Okay. Then when you're trying to find the main idea, look at that first sentence. Sometimes the main idea is stated in the first or the last sentence. A lot of times they use it as a conclusion. If you listen to the Brain Pop video, they talked about that. Many times the main idea is stated in that first or last sentence. Not always, so you can't just automatically do that because you'll be wrong sometimes. But I would look there first. And then look for clue words that are used repeatedly. That will also help you finding the main idea and topic, okay? Remember that the topic is going to be just your 1 or 2 word phrase, right? Water cycle. That's the topic. But the main idea must be a complete sentence, okay? And you can find the main idea in the article, okay? If it's a well-written article, it should be in the article. It should be in the passage. So you just have to find it, okay? I think that is it for today. So hopefully you were able to print those off and fill in the information with us. If not, we will print them off when you get to school, and you can fill it in then. All right. Make sure, if you haven't already, to watch the Brain Pop video, because that will give you some more information and give you more chances to practice. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day.